Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is the Global MEGAFist 12. We are here aboard the Paddlin'. We are somehow still on the White River. I don't understand how it happens. It's a longer river than I thought, and that's the best that I have considering the GPS that we are working with and the satellite jamming our signals and the general lack of reliable internet on this riverboat. My name is Derek Osceola. I'm joined, as always, from a safe, socially distant 6 feet plus away in separate rooms, divided by a plate of glass. Lucille Cramblecorn. Lucille, it's good to have you here.
It's great to be here on the Paddlin' in whatever body of water we happen to currently be traversing. It's great for another night of amateur MMA with you, Derek.
No doubt about that. It's honestly a highlight to the both of us in the sense that there is not much really to be done on this riverboat. It gets a little old after about the first week or two, and we've been going strong for months, I think now. Time doesn't really exist anymore in the same way that it does in the real world when you're on a riverboat. I think I have sea legs now that I'm worried about how I'm going to maneuver when I get back onto land. It's a new experience.
Yeah, I've been trying to just stay in my rolling office chair as much as possible. It is a bit of a hassle kind of maneuvering certain areas, but I got nothing else to do all day, so
that's basically where we are with that, as far as we're going with that. But we do have a lot to cover in the next 60 or 90 or so minutes for you here tonight in the Global MEGAFist 12. We are having the lightweights do battle tonight, and this is their second group stage fight. And this is the main event that will headline it. It is Rob Lynn, Canada's best pickpocket, taking on Deputy Snooter Magnum, the canine force human, the bomb-sniffing man, I guess is really what it is when it comes down to. He is part of the canine force, but Rob Lynn is also a very dangerous opponent. He had a third-round submission in his first fight this year, but he was one of the early favorites and made it as far as the Final Four last season.
Oh, absolutely. Rob Lynn, it's still surprising to me every time I remember that, no, he did not actually go on and capture the 2019 lightweight crown. He was that good. He was that dominant all last year. Snooter Magnum, Deputy Snooter Magnum, has a tough test in front of him tonight. But, he's no slouch. He has shown from the Hyperfist that he is a very dangerous threat, and Rob Lynn will do well to not take him very lightly tonight.
No doubt about that. I 100% agree. I think there's a lot of fireworks, a lot of question marks in this fight. We have a relative unknown in Deputy Snooter Magnum and Rob Lynn continuing in that group B. We take a look over at this one. These are our two names we are familiar with from last season. Beginnis Swordhouse, the Renaissance Fair enthusiast, taking on the Oklahoma Cupid, the matchmaker himself, Charlie Valentine. Both started off with a loss in their first fights. And these aren't the kind of fighters that we'd expect to go 0-2 in this tournament.
No, absolutely not. They're very solid competitors. Swordhouse is a thickly built man. Valentine, he's a bit more slender, but he's gotten the job done on numerous occasions last year. Both guys are going to have to really dig deep to come out with a W here tonight.
No doubt about it. And we have a notable rematch from last year to round out Group B. JC Switcher, the defending champion of the lightweight division, the 2019 Global MEGAFist champion, taking on Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs. You don't recall from last year, this was one of those controversial decisions. Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs took the victory on a decision, one of JC Switcher's rare losses, in 2019. Can the same thing happen? Or will Switcher get his revenge? It's kind of been a revenge tour. He took out Charlie Valentine by decision in his first fight. That was another revenge fight. This is the other one for Switcher.
Yeah, he might be looking to somewhat right these wrongs of 2019 past here in 2020. But Gibbs is going to be another guy that's going to be a very, very tough out. It's Switcher. He's obviously on a tremendous winning streak. Having captured as you mentioned the 2019 crown title. I mean, he didn't actually receive any sort of prize or prize money, but
of course not.
I think we all just kind of give him a congratulatory nod and a handshake back when handshakes were allowed. But he's definitely wanting to keep this momentum going into 2020 and keep racking up wins.
No doubt about that. Well, that will be a very interesting battle to go to. That will be coming up in just a bit. Let's go over to the other side of this division. Walter Birch versus Miroslav Florislava. Another fight that just jumps out from the pages. Florislava, one of the most dominant fighters from last season. Another one, much like Rob Lynn, suffered an unexpected upset loss in the semifinals, taking on Walter Birch, who has been relatively unstoppable as a newcomer. I mean, it's almost the same story as Lynn versus Magnum, but we're seeing it in the other group, and both these fighters know how to throw heavy strikes.
100%, Derek. I mean, Birch, from the Hyperfist qualifiers into his first Global Megafist fight, he has shown a tremendous capacity to put fist to face, as it were. And Miroslav Florislava, I don't know about you, Derek. I certainly had issues with his personal attire last year. It's less of an issue now. I respect his abilities as a fighter. He is another very great competitor here at the Global Megafist.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And again, it's mostly because I think wearing masks in general is a little bit more commonplace, not to mention the fact that we don't have to be in the same room as the man wearing asbestos that is crumbling before our very eyes. Interesting fight, this one. Ruben Fondant, Zeke Apnea. These two fighters did not exactly set the world on fire in 2019. Fondant got off to a slow start, 0-1, but Zeke Apnea with a very big win. And Apnea has a chance to go 2-0 against one of the lesser fighters in this tournament. But Fondant, if there's a chance for him to make a comeback, this is it.
Oh, absolutely. Fondant, if I'm not mistaken, barely avoided relegation last year. I don't think he's going to want to have a similar, guillotine hanging above his neck, so to speak. Apnea also, had a very lackluster 2019. Both guys got to maintain any kind of winning momentum. Fondant has really just got to pick up the pace and go out aggressive this fight, because Apnea is the kind of guy you can go out fast and maybe catch him off guard.
No doubt about that. That is a man who has not been sleeping well for days, weeks, months, even years. So again, if you can catch him off guard while those eyes are droopy, that might be the solution. And our opening fight, not our opening fight, but our final fight to cover in this preview is Cale Howard versus Trevor Serrano, a rematch from last season. I believe that was one of the ones that Howard might have gotten the win over Serrano. I have to go and check my records again on that one. I can't recall, but both fighters 0-1, hard-fought battles last time out. Neither one wants to go 0-2. It's as simple as that. Lucille, do you have anything to say about that one, or shall we go right to the rules?
I think it's time to head over to the rules breakdown.
All right, well, for those unfamiliar with the Global Megafist 12, if you're new to this, or if you just need a nice little refresher, what you are watching is amateur mixed martial arts. All of our fights tonight are 3 rounds, 150 seconds each. That's 2.5 minutes for those of you who like that sort of math. It'll be counting down from 150 down to 0 in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. A 10-point must-scoring system is in effect, with the round winner getting 10, his opponent getting 9 or less. As always, no to the groin, no hitting the back of the heads, no trophy, no flowers, no flashbulbs, no wine. And of course, if any of our fights go to a decision, judges score fights based on aggression, damage, control, and a coin flip. And of course, most importantly, none of our fighters are getting paid. So that is our rule set for this evening. We are getting things started in a big way with a big rematch. JC Switcher and Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs kick us off here on episode number 6. We go to the tail of the tape. Of course, all of our fighters, lightweights, 155 pounds. Switcher has a slight height and reach advantage. He is one of the taller of the lightweight divisions. And we asked everyone today their favorite board game. JC Switcher said Solitaire. Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs said War. Do you think it means the card game? Does he mean War Games? Does he just... ready? Or are we getting a little deeper than that?
Let's fight!
I'm honestly not sure. I mean, it could mean any number of things. I thought it would be interesting if both guys, basically gave 2 card games for their board game choices.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Nice uppercut from Switcher.
Clipping uppercut, using that reach, just that throwing that long uppercut. He's in the southpaw stance, by the way. Switcher in the gray. But
working your angles.
Yeah, he kind of just grazed the chin, just like kind of threw it out there and test more of like he threw it kind of like a jab would be, where you kind of test the range with it. But Gibbs goes to the ground and goes right into the guard of Switcher.
Yeah, definitely seeing the difference between the aggression of these two men. Switcher knocked Gibbs down earlier and did not follow up. Gibbs brought the fight to the ground, and he's looking for a submission very quickly.
That he is. He's going for an arm triangle, it looks like. Very interesting strategy here. Now, I don't know. I don't know if Switcher is one to tap out, but he seems to be kind of just staying calm, doing all the things he needs to do, or whether he knows that or not. But Gibbs takes them out immediately.
Yeah, it wasn't the most expertly applied arm triangle, but it was, there's definitely some pressure there. But Switcher escaped, and he's in a tough, tight spot right here with Gibbs in mount landing these big, heavy punches.
Yeah, again, it goes for that arm triangle again and gets... That's the trick of this arm triangle. You have to give up the mounted position and go to basically a side control, side guard, side mount. Call it whatever you choose, and... He loses his position if he can't land the submission. And Switcher, well, just like that, Switcher can go right back into it. I'm not sure what the strategy of Switcher is just yet. If it's just kind of wait and see if Gibbs makes a mistake.
Yeah, it's interesting. Switcher's. I would have thought he'd want to back away and get this fight back. I mean, Gibbs has brought the fight back to the feet, but I would have thought Switcher would have a bit more of an advantage at traditional kickboxing range.
Agreed on that one. I'm a bit but it looks like Gibbs is just kind of just staying. He's just making things very uncomfortable. He's kind of just almost like that you're just invading someone's personal space. Like certainly not social distancing at this time. And that brings us to the end of round number 1.
You gotta fight your fight.
Gibbs was the busier. I don't know who really landed the more successive techniques, but if it's nothing else, that's a kind of round that Gibbs could absolutely steal.
100%, Derek. I mean, he didn't get dropped very early in that first round, but he recovered well. He went with some. There we're seeing that uppercut, that lead hand uppercut.
That was a very nice uppercut, yes.
But he, and then on the replay, we're seeing these arm triangle attempts. I think Gibbs might have edged it with his damage from the top and his submission attempts. I do wonder if Switcher, if he's maybe wanting to try and beat Gibbs at Gibbs' own game, the ground game, and just to prove that that previous fight they had was a poor decision from the judges.
Perhaps so. That's an interesting strategy, but Gibbs seems to be going to whatever he thinks can get the judges on his side. At least from that very first round. If it's not a bad strategy, it's a valid strategy. And I mean, there's just as much valor in getting a victory by knocking someone out as there is by feeling like it's been stolen. And I think if there's anything knowing about stolen victories, that is Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs. But here we see JC Switcher almost seems to have just turned the tables.
Yeah, if he could get Gibbs with an arm triangle, I mean, it's not Gibbs' signature move, but it's for Gibbs to be going for it a couple of times in the first, and if Switcher would have gotten that would have been some interesting, I guess, irony. I'm not an English major, so I don't know exactly if irony's the correct.
Same here as well, but it looks like Gibbs just grabbing for that arm, a Kimura attempt. He's got the wrist. He's got his own hand on his own wrist. This is not bad technique, but he doesn't seem to have the leverage. He hasn't. I think he's being stifled a little too much. Couldn't pop his hips forward and get that sort of leverage. But again, Gibbs consistently going for submissions. But Switcher, again, it would be amazing if he almost sort of stole the victory from Gibbs with the move that he used.
Yeah. Oh, nice reversal from Gibbs though. But
and into Switcher, a guillotine.
Yeah, Switcher diving on that guillotine. He's got arm in, which
very
you
fast,
can finish. Too. Yeah, absolutely. Very nice transition from Switcher. Oh, it's looking tight. And he gets the tap.
Wow. Well, that is surprising in a way to me. But, again, Switcher, I'm not used to seeing the submission victory for him, but what a win that was. He jumped into that guillotine so quickly. It looked like it was almost, we see a lot of fighters, Lucille, that just kind of go for whatever they can, not thinking they can get it. Switcher seemed like he knew he had that locked in.
Yeah, he must have felt that Gibbs was maybe a little too relaxed with his head sticking out, and Switcher just dove on that, and didn't take long to get the squeeze tight enough to force the tap. Big second round win for JC Switcher.
That he did. Big win, 5 big points for Switcher. That puts him at 8 with that second round victory. We've got another fight coming up. If you're not familiar with how the point system works, if you're new to Global MEGAFist 12, stick around. We'll explain that in just a few. We've got another fight to go right away. Again, we are on board the riverboat known as the Atza Paddle, and we set sail out of Branson, Missouri. We're somewhere on the White River. I think we're in Arkansas at this point. But coming up next, our next fight of the 6th tonight is number 2, Cale Howard versus Trevor Serrano. this one, the tale of the tape. Two of the more undersized lightweights, or more, perhaps more just with the what we consider to be the lightweight size. Sereno a 3-inch height advantage and reach advantage, but Cale Howard is fairly short, although he is very lanky. So he's going to be giving up the height advantage to his opponent pretty much throughout the entire tournament.
You ready?
Risk for Sereno, interesting. He said he loves the idea of taking territories, and yeah, he said he loves risk because it allows him to take over territories and build an empire within a map. Meanwhile, Howard said P to the game, which I didn't know was a thing.
I didn't either. Oh wow, very quick. Howard was going to take Sereno's back, but nice avoidance from Sereno to get out of it. But you know, Sereno, he is a very cerebral fighter. You know, a strategic game like Risk does make sense for big uppercut.
Oh, big! He does hit it. Nothing cerebral about that. Just, you know, again, the phrase "dirty boxing" that's about as dirty as it gets. You just throw a fist right up the middle and catch the guy in the chin, and Howard is kind of scrambling. It's like he's in panic mode right now.
Oh, absolutely. He is not in a great spot. He is getting battered.
Oh my goodness. Well, this is not going to last long if Sereno keeps throwing it like this. My word. Oh my God.
Oh, but Howard is trying to use his own clinch game. Yeah, I don't think he's got the muscle behind it that Sereno does. He
is very frail. He's a fairly, I don't want to say he's plant-based, but he is a vegan activist, militant vegan activist. So he is, he has his beliefs, and because of that, he often goes on hunger strikes, and sometimes that's just his general diet. People do wonder, again, while the vegan lifestyle may have some ability, you absolutely can live healthy with a vegan diet, I'm sure. I don't think he is actively doing that.
Yeah,
so I wonder if he's malnourished in any sort of way.
I mean, there is also the fact that I think all of the vegetables on the at the Padwin's buffet are either deep fried or served covered in cheese and bacon, so he might not be.
He might not even be eating those. It's a very good point. It is next to impossible to eat healthy on this riverboat.
No, it's a fool's errand to even try. You got to bring in your own, I guess, energy bars or something.
Something like that, yeah, I guess. Or if we go into port, if we're actually able to dock somewhere, then we load up supplies. I don't know. I've heard from the upper management that an envoy from Moscow, Arizona, Mr. Naga, might be delivering some sort of. I don't know. Resources. I don't ask.
It's best not to.
It really is. I actually asked a couple of the people who were working on here, and they said Mr. Naga has taken care of it, and that I should really just relax. But that first round had a lot of action. Howard came back to land a couple really good strikes after getting rocked and just beaten on early.
Gentlemen, you ready?
Yeah, he made it respectable, but I would still give that first round to Sereno. He was much more effective with how his damage played out on Cale Howard. Big uppercut.
Well, he seems to be finding that whenever he wants it. We're already only about 10 seconds into this round, and he drops him and dives in. Well, does gravity do the work for him and just dives in with a flying punch into the guard? But here's a triangle choke. What composure from Howard!
Yeah, he stays vigilant in the face of danger. He's quick to react and throw up submission attempts. You can't count out Cale Howard even if you're on top of him punching his face. You got to be aware that whether a submission or a reversal or these guys are going nuts.
Yeah, there's another attempt. We're about a minute into this second round, as another submission attempt, and Sereno looks fairly calm. He's just fighting it out, letting Howard use some energy, knowing it's not going to be too detrimental. But again, he's going from compost to composure to possibly being decomposed with that elbow from the side control, and there is it's either a cut or there is some swelling that is closing up that eye of Cale Howard.
You got 2 minutes, buddy.
Yeah, he looked a little, floppy, I guess is maybe the right words for how he reacted after that big elbow. But again, looking for a submission.
Well, again, this seems to be the MO of Cale Howard. He gets rocked and then he just kind of goes into panic mode, and it seems to work.
Yeah, it's flight or fight, and it's not working out too bad for him. Minus getting possibly concussed each time.
Well, sometimes it's in kind of the way it's boxers would say they take a punch to land one. Well, I think the idea of that is you don't want to take a worse punch to land something. Is really what it is, and we're getting close to the end. And credit to Howard, he has taken a lot of beatings in these first 2 rounds, and it looks like he's gonna make it to the 3rd round. Whereas if I was a betting man at the start of this fight, I don't necessarily think that I would have expected it to go this far.
Yeah, I mean, we do have to remember in Cale's video package, part of it was showing him dropping Sereno from their first fight.
No doubt about that. He does have the win.
So he does have a good amount of pop to his punches, but that face is looking rough. That is going to need some solid attention to get that looking normal again.
No doubt about that. And on the opposite side of it, Sereno's face looks fairly unblemished. The majority of the danger he was in was any sort of submission attempt, but I definitely think if we're looking at the canvases that are the art canvases that are these 2 men's faces, I think one spells which one is the winner, and it is not that man currently.
Gentlemen, you ready?
Yeah,
ready?
Cale is gonna have to, be on the lookout for those punches coming on out of Sereno's left-hand side with that eye looking to be nearly swollen shut.
No doubt about it.
Going crazy with these combos.
Certainly is, and again, just reminds you how dangerous this man is. This is a finalist of last season's. This is the guy who this guy is the finalist, and he strikes. He might be going for the finish here in the 3rd round for 4 big points. He's hammering away, and I guess the referee didn't see enough.
Wow. That was
nice. Beautiful.
That was either extreme negligence by the referee or Howard showed just enough life to allow the fight to continue. But, I'm surprised it's still going, honestly.
No doubt about that. I would have to agree with you on this one. We're about 90 seconds to go in this fight. A finish now is worth 4 points. A decision victory, 3. And Sereno he seems to have just kind of found another gear and is going for it. But Cale Howard is still, he's ready to catch him if he makes a mistake. But Sereno just has that tenacity. We can't forget, he is the finalist. He is the losing finalist to JC Switcher in last season's Global MEGAFist 12.
Hit him from out guard.
He got the upset victory over Miroslav Vorislava and ultimately lost to JC Switcher. And it looks like Howard is taking a bit of a breather. He doesn't seem to have any answer for all of this. He's just trying to maybe get a round or something. I don't know what his strategy is at this point. He's got to go for a finish.
Take it if you got it.
Yeah. Oh, he's another triangle attempt from Howard. I mean, he's definitely got the skill to catch Sereno, but he's got to get a finish. I don't see any way that even with a dominant 3rd round, he comes out with a decision win. And Sereno is Just pummeling.
That's it.
Wow, and that has got to be it. Well, I think, I'm kind of surprised they didn't end it sooner the first time. The fact that this ended so quickly is really a testament to the beating that was compounded over the course of this fight. The finish didn't do much, but I think it was just the cumulative effect of all of those strikes that the referee had seen enough.
Yeah, that was, there wasn't a lot that Howard was doing at the very end there. He was not offering much in the way of intelligent defense. Just laying there and taking those fists to the face. Oh, that's a lot of blood from a lot of places.
Yeah, there's blood in places and places with blood in it. But Trevor Serrano gets a much-needed victory to continue his campaign here in the Global MEGAFist 12 for 2020. 4 big points, his first win of the season. And folks, we're going to take a quick break from the action. If you are new to Global MEGAFist 12, or you just need a refresher, here's a quick explainer of what we're talking about. We're talking about points and victories and the whole format of this tournament.
The Global MEGAFist 12 is a grueling competition like nothing ever seen before in mixed martial arts. First, the 12 fighters are drawn at random into 2 groups of 6 fighters each. Each fighter will face off against the other 5 in their group. A win is worth 3 points, while a draw is worth 1. In addition, bonus points are awarded for how fast a fight is won. Winning in the 3rd round is worth 4 total points, a 2nd round win is worth 5, and finishing a fight in the 1st round gets you 6 points in all. After all 5 rounds of competition, the 2 fighters who finish in last place are relegated from Global MEGAFist 12 and must earn their way back in next season. They will be replaced by 2 fighters from the HyperFist qualifying tournament. The 2 5th-place fighters will be matched up against 2 more fighters from the HyperFist qualifiers, with the winners earning their spot in next season's Global MEGAFist 12. The top 2 fighters from each group advance to the semifinals, where the 1st-place fighter from each group will take on the 2nd-place fighter from the other. The winners of these fights will do battle for the championship. It all comes down to one thing: win, and win fast. And the title of Global MEGAFist 12 champion awaits.
And that should hopefully give you a nice explanation as to how this works. Fighters fight for points. Top 2 in each group make it to the semifinals. And we are currently at fight number 2 of the group stage for the lightweights. Coming up next, it's Zeke Apnea versus Ruben Fondant. That is our 3rd fight of the evening, and it's happening right now. for this one. It is the battle of the despondent cake sculptor versus the man who just cannot sleep. And favorite board game seems oddly appropriate for both of them. The rest is virtually the same.
This might be reductive, but I'm a little surprised Fondant didn't pick Candyland. That seems
Let's go,
the
guys.
kind
Fight.
of sweet and delightful thing that he would enjoy. But
Fair enough, but he goes with Jenga, the game where you are trying not to cause the horrible destruction of a beautifully crafted structure.
tower, yeah, that does fit pretty well too. Not gonna lie. You know,
Again, for those unfamiliar, again, Ruben Fondant, a master baker. I had to be careful how I said that. I didn't realize it until after I said it, but he is a cake sculptor, and he goes and he watches his beautiful cakes as they are destroyed by ungrateful and just hungry children who don't really appreciate art. Meanwhile, Zeke Apnea cannot sleep. He's got an energy drink sponsorship mixed with the fact that he's lived above an underground fight club back on land. But he is trying to sleep nowadays. I understand he gets seasick, and that's the problem.
yeah, seasick, and I think his room is next to the karaoke lounge.
Oh, that's what it was. You're right. It was the karaoke lounge is right next to Mr. Apnea's room, and that is, of course, a 24-hour party, because what else is there to do?
Yeah, and there is basically no soundproofing anywhere on the Axpaddlin. I was told that's for safety reasons, but I don't know enough to challenge that, so I just nodded and said, sure.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair, and I think part of the reason that might be, and I'm completely guessing, is when I think of soundproofing, I think of those egg crate things, and I think those would probably just absorb a lot of water. And the one thing a riverboat doesn't want to do is take on additional water. Meanwhile, what we're seeing in this fight is a lot of just brutality, just a lot of hands and feet being flung, and perhaps just the despondency of Fondant and the lack of sleep. Oh my God! Well, one of them is asleep.
Stop. Fight's over. Fight's over, guys.
Holy cow.
What a knockout from Zeke Apnea. Bloodied eye and all. And the man who, look at that eye. That is, well, he's getting, well, that might be the only shut eye he's getting lately. But it is, in fact, well, there's a concussion on the ground right there. And Fondant is in a bad way. That was a clean shot right to the temple. And he was out just as he hit the ground.
Both men loading up for big hooks, and Apnea landed first, landed harder, and Fondant just collapsed in the heat.
Absolutely, he did. And we talked about this, Lucille. Zeke Apnea has won his last 4 now fights ever since being knocked completely unconscious in the middle of the 2019 season. He has come back and had win after win after win. I'm not sure if that's a coincidence or if there's something to it, but I guess we'll see how long this can keep going for him. But coming up next, we're going to head back over to Group B as Charlie Valentine and Beginner's Swordhouse look to get their first win of 2020. That fight is happening right now. the tape for this one. Swordhouse is, again, surprising to many to be a lightweight. He's a very stocky frame. He gives up some height and a little bit of reach in this one. Lucille, how do you figure this one factors in with their stats?
Swordhouse, he's definitely a powerful, thickly built guy.
Let's fight.
If he can get inside on Valentine and just unleash some of these big hammers he carries around, it's going to be short night for Valentine, but it's getting inside that's going to be tough because Valentine's pretty good at keeping the fight kind of where he wants to keep it.
That he does, and again, it's very much a striker versus submission. I think based on their results last season, Swordhouse more of the striker. Valentine's got a lot of wins via submission. Both are 0-1 after Valentine lost to JC Switcher by decision. Swordhouse was defeated by Deputy Snooter Magnum by a TKO in the second round. And right now we are seeing Valentine take the lead in this, take the advantage in this one. About a minute into the first round, and he's got mounted position, and Swordhouse seems to be covering up, unsure how to react to this.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think we've seen quite a few people, take Swordhouse down, and those chainmail shorts just make it really hard for him to really explode and buck his hips and get big rounded pound.
That was just a hammer fist right to the nose, and he is beating him senseless.
That's it.
And it's just, his hands just couldn't protect him anymore, and Valentine gets the win. The referee had seen enough. Those are 6 big points for Charlie Valentine.
Wow. Great ground and pound from Valentine. Great stoppage. Swordhouse was, as I was saying, he was not doing much on the bottom. It's so hard to get any kind of explosive movement wearing those heavy chainmail shorts he likes to wear in this caged octagonal structure.
That he does. Perhaps he'll have to look into some sort of tunic or perhaps a different method of gear, but it's really hindering his ability in the Global MEGAFist 12 as he now drops to 0-2. But Charlie Valentine, 6 big points. It's amazing how quickly a first round victory with 6 points can help you out in this tournament, can just boost you immediately up into the standings.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anytime that especially early on like this, but with how spread out some of these results have been, those 6 points can be incredible to jumpstart a run for the playoffs.
Well, fans, the Global MEGAFist 12 returns to this station and to this broadcast in 2 weeks' time, June 15th. We kick off with the third round of heavyweights. A couple of interesting battles in there. Lonnie Fescue versus Gabe Donahue. Jeff Perkins versus the all-seeing Zoltan. Fritz Milgram versus Wanderin Mo Volt in Group A. And, of course, Dr. Igor Tonic taking on the newcomer Marty Sweats. Damian Adder versus Little 42 The Answer. And Dan Rodenta versus the dangerous Oliver Lehman. Be some great fights in that one, Lucille. I am looking forward to that one. The heavyweights can always bring it.
Oh, the heavyweights bring it all the time. Big shots landing. You got a few guys that like to get it done via submission. That's always interesting when the big guys go to the ground. A lot of great fights on this card next week. I cannot wait. It's going to be outstanding.
No doubt about it. That's going to be on June 15th in 2 weeks' time. But we have our next fight, our second to last fight, our co-main event, if you want to give it that term. Walter Birch versus Miroslav Florislava. That's happening right now. tape for this one. Birch, Florislava. Walter Birch, the disciplinarian. He is known as the Yardstick. Walter the Yardstick Birch. Versus Miroslav Florislava, the man who is very conscious of fire safety, so much so that he is covered in asbestos. He is wearing asbestos trunks. Lucille, we don't have to actually be at cage side to deal with breathing in the fumes of asbestos. So we can kind of enjoy this from a distance, and Florislava, quite the fighter. Will be interesting to see how he can perform in today's fight.
Oh, absolutely. He tore through the competition last year. Was one of the odds-on favorites to win it all. Fell just short ultimately, but he's coming back 2020 campaign, and he is a very dangerous fighter anywhere it takes place.
But so is Walter the Yardstick Birch. On the other hand of that, Birch went through the Hyperfist tournament to qualify for this. Again, the last place fighters in the groups get relegated down to the Hyperfist, replaced by a winner of the Hyperfist. Birch was one of them. All of his fights were finishes, and they were fast. He has heavy hands. He's dangerous. He got a first-round submission in his first fight against Ruben Fondant. You don't know what to expect from him either.
Oh no, both these guys are really solid fighters. Birch is a bit more of the unknown quantity. We didn't broadcast the Hyperfist live as it happened last year. We did have some recap shows as 2020 season was coming up. But
yeah, you and I were talking about how shocking it was to see him dominate it.
Yeah, I think Birch has definitely seen more of Florislava's fights than the other way around. So
true, yeah, absolutely. I didn't realize. My apologies. I apologize. I didn't realize that was the point you were making. You're absolutely right on that one.
It's fine. Sometimes I've been known to take a roundabout path to get to a point.
That sounds like how I go to find the buffet or the casino just to pass the time these days.
Yeah. Speaking of Florislava, I was just kind of wandering around the Aztapatlan, and big heavy shots from
goodness
Birch.
me!
Oh, this might not be the time to talk about what I saw.
Stop.
Florislava, my goodness.
Oh no, well Walter Birch just exploded onto the scene and exploded the face with his fists and gets a second first-round victory. He is at 12 points.
Big finish from Birch.
I dare to ask if the Florislava story still applies, or if it's worth hearing anyway.
I was just going to mention I found him standing in the engine room of the Aztapatlan, just shaking his head, saying, "This is all bad. This needs to be changed." So maybe he was a little distracted coming into this fight.
Wow, that's Should we be worried about him saying that, or what that might mean?
Just because you're an enthusiast doesn't necessarily know everything there is to know about fire safety. So I don't know. I trust the most honorable and glorious Mr. Naga to have gotten us a river-worthy vessel.
Sure. Or at least to have made sure that it was river-worthy. I mean, we did just kind of commandeer it in a way, but nonetheless, here we are, and this is our life now. But our main event is coming up in just a moment. It is a very exciting fight. Rob Lynn, Deputy Snooter Magnum. Two very different fighters. The understatement, I can't make any bigger understatement. It's happening right now. is the main event. This is an exciting one. And we are seeing interesting stats. Rob Lynn, for as lanky and as long-limbed as he is a bit undersized in this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it always strikes me as interesting. You know, I watch Lynn's fights and he doesn't seem 5'6". He fights much larger than his 5'6" frame would belie. And once again, just the two guys just not providing board game answers, just kind of saying whatever weird thing they're into.
I mean, again, it is what it is, I suppose, but this is your main event. This is the last fight of the evening, and potential for 6 big points on the line. Both fighters could use it. Rob Lynn got 4 points coming into it, Magnum with 5. You want to keep pace, and this is... If you're Deputy Snooter Magnum, this is a top-level opponent in a very difficult route. You get a win over Rob Lynn. You are in good shape in this tournament.
That's it.
Oh, absolutely. You know, this is you know, I've said it throughout the wow, nice reversal from Magnum. I've said it throughout, you know, this early 2020 Global MEGAFist season. These hyperfist fighters are, you know, legit good fighters, but this is going to be a big test for Snooter Magnum. Rob Lynn is, you know, one of the best we've got it at 155 here in the Global MEGAFist.
It's amazing. We always would. Last season we would talk a lot about how, again, all these fighters, amateurs, no fighting background. Their only experience really is when they fought in the Global MEGAFist 12 in the past, which now for Rob Lynn means a whole season of this tournament in under his belt. For Magnum, it means the Hyperfist qualifiers, plus perhaps some police training. I don't know what a bomb-sniffing man would go through, if he goes through the academy in the same way that a human police officer would, or if he goes through more of like the canine train. It just hurts my head to think about it. Rob Lynn voted Canada's best pickpocket, something I didn't realize you could vote for, but I guess that's Canada for you. And again, we always talked about how he uses his pickpocketing skills and how it translates to fighting, so that is an interesting thing, and Lynn has become so dangerous for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, on first glance, you wouldn't think pickpocketing skills would be the best. Oh, big head kick would be the best for a combat sports background, but wow.
He's trying to put in the finish. And Magnum is scrambling. I think if this round was 10 seconds longer, we'd be at the end of this fight. However, we just barely go to a second round, Lucille. We both kind of just exchanged glances like, as if to say, oh my God.
I want 4s and 5s with the
Yeah,
punches now, right?
that
We
could have
can't
been,
hold
if
back
that
now.
would have been stopped
Cannot
there,
hold back.
I don't think there's much to argue about if the fight would have been stopped at the very end of that first round after those big shots on the ground from Rob Lynn.
Yeah, I don't think that's I think a referee using discretion in that one, that is, you know, I wouldn't have blamed, again, I also would not have blamed him if that was the end of the fight, if that was called right there, but I guess Magnum did just enough.
Listen to me. Don't
And
problem.
our referee
Relax.
decided to
Don't
be a
go
little
for the
lenient
big
on that
moment.
one, but
You ready?
let's see how each
Ready?
fighter comes at now. What does the second round mean when
Let's
the first
fight.
round ends like that? And you see, oh my gosh, well that's how it starts. Oh my God.
Lynn wants to finish this off where he, you know, or start off where he finished last round and get the stoppage, get those points, but oh, Kimura from Magnum.
You know, I was silly of me to ask, well, where do you leave off when a round almost ends the fight like that? But I guess we see. That's smelling blood. That is seeing your target and attacking it with gusto. My word. The just tenacity of Rob Lynn is that is very dog-like, which is what you'd expect from Snooter Magnum.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, if you were to tell me that one of these men spends a lot of time with dogs based on just how they're fighting so far, you'd have to say it's Lynn. I mean, he is all over Magnum.
I 100% agree with you, and this has been It's very much been one-way traffic in favor of Lin. It's very much, I feel like all he's missing is the finish, but this is some time for Magnum to kind of get his breath, start to get some control, land some good strikes, and again we see Rob Lin has a habit of finishing opponents. We did see him go late into the third round in his first fight with no problem against Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs. But if there's anything maybe to be tested about Rob Lin, it might be his cardio, it might be his ability to go late into fights, but I don't even know if that's the case at this point.
There you go, nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting, if he goes all out like this and can't get a finish, that might definitely be an issue of, gassing himself out. Big shots.
Oh, he's going for a ride. Oh, and he slams him down, and that can just take your breath away. That impact.
I was gonna say, and especially a big guy like Deputy Snooter Magnum, laying on top of you, just making you carry his weight is tough. But Lin is pretty good at reversing position anytime it seems like Magnum's got anything going, on the feet or on the ground.
Yep.
He really has been. Well, Lin hasn't answered everything. This is, again, it's weird to say this about amateurs who don't have any fighting background, but oh, goodness me, what was... I don't even know how to call that.
Lin got dropped, and as he was trying to wall walk back up, Magnum dove in and dropped him again.
Gosh, I mean, I guess that's 2 knockdowns if you're scoring it. I mean, this is a really close fight that could go in either direction now, and who knows what kind of damage Rob Lin suffered on at the onset of at the end of that round.
Yeah, here we see the very beginning. Dodging that jab and just unloading with a big hook from Rob Lin.
And again, that answers my question. How do you pick up after you enter a round almost finishing off your opponent? Well, you run across the cage and you punch him in the face, I guess.
You try and finish in the first 5 seconds of the very next
with
round.
one hard right hand. My God. I mean, should I be laughing at this? I don't care. I'm gonna laugh anyway.
I think of any round that we've seen all night, that's definitely one that you could decide via coin flip, as the judges are allowed to do. Oh, Lin
it certainly is possible. Yeah, there we go.
Looking for his rush, but Magnum scouted it. Big slam.
Oddly appropriate that the Canadian pickpocket is looking for his rush. However, Magnum is trying to sniff out a way to take this round and possibly have a chance at a decision or getting a finish. At this point, I don't know if Magnum's interested in a finish unless he can just catch him the right way. It looks like Lin is going in for the kill on this one. He's got mount. He's throwing some punches, taking his time, being very methodical. But Magnum is not giving up.
Oh, he does not have any quit in him, but this is going to be tough. I mean, Lin was so dominant in that first round. 10-8, very possible score. Maybe even a 10-7. I mean, he was just so very close to a finish at the very end of round 1 that even 2 rounds is going to be tough for Magnum to win on the scorecards.
I would have to agree with you on that one. I think a 10-8 is very possible.
Beautiful.
2 minutes 30.
It's again, you have to expect a finish or perhaps a draw, but a draw benefits nobody in this case. It's 1 point. It is designed to do that in the effect. Well, again, Magnum avoids that knee again, and that is a dangerous. That is very much. That's a lesson learned that I think you can see a fighter develop over the course of this tournament, and Magnum is it's very much on-the-job training, as it is for everyone here in the Global MEGAFist 12, and we're down to 40 seconds to go in this fight. And that coin flip, as you said, may come in handy.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are just... I'm surprised that they have kept up this tremendous pace deep into the third round. I mean...
I think this is definitely trial by fire, and very much what's this? Not trial by fire. What's the phrase? But it's baptism by fire for Deputy Snooter Magnum. His second fight in the Global MEGAFist 12 is against one of the toughest lightweights, and he has gone the distance. He has gone to a decision victory, possibly, but he lasted all 3 rounds, and look what it took out of Lin. As Magnum, you know what, that is worth celebrating. You just went 3 rounds with one of the toughest lightweights. Moral victories aren't worth any points, Lucille. However, that's got to be a little bit of, perhaps a little bit of confidence boost.
Yeah, even if he doesn't get the decision nod, you know, he knows that he can hang with the absolute cream of the crop of the Global MEGAFist. You know, he can take these big shots and keep coming back. And I mean, he put a lot of damage on Lin. I mean, Lin's eye is looking pretty rough. If we'll get a chance to see it as the verdict is being read.
Yeah, well, to see as the decision is coming in. I mean, it feels like it probably is in the side of Lin, but who can tell with these days? We have a winner. Who is it going to be? It is Rob Lin. 3 big points. Not the low amount that we're not used to seeing him get these low amounts, but yeah, you can see that eye is going to take a lot of healing. That is quite a wound that has to be healed. Well, Lucille, that is our night of fights. What a night. What an interesting set of results as we look at Group A. Sereno with a 3rd round victory over Cale Howard. Walter Birch and Zeke Apnea with 1st round victories. Not only do they get those big 6 points for that, but they go to 2-0, and look at this. That is a big amount of daylight with 1 versus 2 happening in our next lightweight episode. Birch versus Apnea is the next fight.
You know, it's always interesting when it kind of shakes out like that. You know, this is all drawn up, you know, before the season started.
100% random?
Yeah, could have been, you know, 5 and 6 going at it, you know, with, you never know. But it's really interesting. Birch and Apnea are not 2 of the guys who I would have thought would be at the very top of the table of this group.
One of them is going to go to 3-0. And
Yeah,
that's going to be that's a chance for one of them to put a lot of daylight between themselves and the rest of the field.
Yeah, Sereno and Florislava are really going to need to rack up the early stoppage wins if they're going to want to climb back up this Group A breakdown.
Yeah, as we've seen in the past season, the win-loss record may not always be enough. Let's head over to Group B and see how they went. We saw the decision victory for Rob Lin. Charlie Valentine, 1st round victory to get his first one. JC Switcher also 2-0 with a submission victory. And it's a little bit tighter at the top there. It is 8-7-6-5. And look at what we're going to see on episode 9. Not just Birch versus Apnea, Switcher versus Lin, a fight that we were talking about potentially seeing last year. We're going to see it in the group stage next time for the lightweights.
Yeah, again, it's you know, it's very interesting. We got our 2-0 guys. You know, the number 1 ranking at stake here in Group B. You know, and then at the other end, Gibbs and Swordhouse fighting for their first win on episode 9 in July. That
fight could almost doom the loser of that one. Going 0-3 is a tough hole to dig out of. At that point, you are just fighting relegation. You are just fighting to not be last place and be sent down to the Hyperfist. You're just hoping that you can make it to 5th place and fight your way to survive. That is how the lightweight division looks after 2 fights. We'll see you again in 2 weeks with the heavyweights in action. A lot of stuff to talk about with that one. Those are the heavyweight fights coming up on June 15th. Lucille, it's a pleasure to have you on commentary as always. So again, thank you for joining us. Thank you all for tuning in to watch the Global MEGAFist 12. Do join us again on June 15th for the next episode of this, as we feature the heavyweights in their 3rd round of fights. For Lucille Cramplecorn, I'm Derek Osceola, and we'll see you back here on the Ads of Paddlin' as we set sail for another round of fights.